Hello and welcome to our Conversations with the Candidates. I am Wes Slate, former City Councilor and City Council Vice President, and last year I retired as Beverly City Clerk. We're interviewing all 5 candidates for Councilor at Large in the city election on November 2nd, and today I'm talking to Rich Tabbut. Welcome, Rich.
Hi, how you doing, Wes?
Candidate for Councilor at Large. Rich, why don't you take a minute or two and talk to the folks watching about why you're running and what your interest is in the Councilor at Large position.
Well, hi, everyone. Thank you for having me, Wes. My name is Richard Tabbut. I'm running for City Council at Large. The main reason I'm running is several reasons. The first reason was my daughter was trying to buy a house in Beverly late last year, early January, and she couldn't afford to buy a house in Beverly, and that really affected me. And I really think we need to have affordable housing alternatives for our sons and daughters, the people who live in the city of Beverly. I also believe that the city, I've talked to a lot of residents and people, I was encouraged to run by several different residents. And I think that we're in a transition period right now in the city of Beverly, that right now we're going from the COVID times to regular times. But perhaps I should talk a little bit about myself first. I'm a lifelong resident of Beverly. My wife's a teacher at St. Pius School in Lynn, Massachusetts. And we've been married for 35 years. My daughter works at Abiomed over in Danvers. She's a public health major from the University of Massachusetts Amherst. She was a graduate of Beverly High School. I'm a graduate of Beverly Schools. And I would love the opportunity to serve the city, the citizens of the people of Beverly. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Rich, the candidate, the one of you of the 5 who receives the most votes would become council president for the next 2 years. How do you view that position? How do you think the council president should relate to the mayor, their administration, the residents and businesses of Beverly, and the other councilors?
I think they should all work together. I think that the main thing is that we have to work together. The city council consists of many members, and I think we have to reach out to the community. And I think the person has to be ready to assume the mantelpiece of leadership. And I believe that I have the qualifications because I've worked as a city controller, I've worked as a cost accounting manager, I've worked in different nonprofits, I've volunteered at Beverly Bootstraps. But my main thing I think the person would have to be a way to build consensus among the members of the city council to do what's right for the citizens of Beverly. And I think that's important, especially in today's political climate of so much division. I think we need to get consensus, we need to work together, we need to have people that compromise and people that work together for the benefit of the city.
Beverly Main Streets has a new executive, or will have a new executive director with Jen Wallace's retirement. And the Greater Beverly Chamber of Commerce also is involved in businesses in Beverly and the larger area. What role do you see that those leaders and those organizations playing in the future of the city?
Well, as a member of the Beverly Chamber of Commerce, I believe the city, they both have critical positions within the city. I believe that especially since COVID's come, a lot of small businesses in the Beverly are hurting, a lot of the businesses in Beverly are hurting. And I think we really need to work together. And I think it's one of the reasons why it's so important when we get the funds the city of Beverly are receiving from the federal government, that we make sure they go to the areas that need to be helped. And I think the business community in particular needs help right now because of what happened during the COVID pandemic.
Beverly's also home to Endicott College and Montserrat College of Art. We have the Cabot, the LARCOM, and the North Shore Music Theater. What role do you see those institutions and some of the others, the Greater Beverly Y and some of the other larger institutions, playing in the city?
I'm a member of the Beverly Ys, and I think they have a key role to hold in the city of Beverly. I think the Cabot Cinema is a venue that gets all together during COVID where we can all meet and be entertained and also have political meetings and also have all sorts of different meetings. Also, it's a very historical building. The Beverly YMCA is obviously a critical member of the community. I mean, because people, they do a lot for the community. They do affordable housing. They do all sorts, exercise classes, community outreach. And I guess Tim Flaherty was just named executive director of the Beverly YMCA, which I'm very pleased about. And I think all these different organizations have a very critical role to hold in the city of Beverly. And I would look forward to working together with them for the benefit of the city.
Okay. development, and I'm sure you've heard this as you've been campaigning, has probably always been a big issue in Beverly. How much development, where it should be, what type. What are your views on development in the future?
Well, right now, I think Beverly's at a critical turning point. Right now, Beverly's gone, I believe, from 38,000 people to 41,000 people. And I believe that the city, I live behind Flair's Cleaners in that neighborhood right there. And it's one of the most congested areas of the city. And I think we have to balance development with our city's character. I mean, when I grew up, as I'm sure you remember, I'm sure many people in the audience know, Beverly's called the Garden City. And I think that we have to find a way to where we serve people who need homes in the city, serve the people that are less fortunate ourselves, but also balance that with the needs of the city at large. So I think community-based development would be the way to go. I think that what we did on Rantoul Street actually was probably a good thing, because I mean those buildings we need some rehab and that sort of thing, but it has added congestion to the city, and we have a lot of employers like Cummings Center and that sort of thing, which is bringing Regina Pizza in, which I'm very happy about. And I think that it's a very tough balancing act. One of the things I've found through my life experiences, I'm probably the oldest candidate running for city council this year, is that you need to balance things, and you need to listen to people. And we need to have input from every area of the city, and we have to find a way to balance our needs. But one of the things I'm running on is congestion. I believe the roads and the sidewalks need to be developed. We need to find some way, somehow, to put more money to fixing our roads. I live on Sonning Road. The road hasn't been paved since it was built in 1966. Huh. I mean, there are some roads in the city that are worse condition, but it's just that I think that we really need to get. I think one of the things we have in the city that we have a problem with is transparency. A lot of the people don't feel connected. And I think we need to find a way to connect the people to the city of Beverly. And I think the city is working on that, because I think they're hiring a part-time or maybe it's a full-time new IT person. I talked to the budget director during one of the city council meetings. He mentioned that we might need somebody else in the accounting department to help out with the budgeting, to help out with our presence online. And I know that Stacey Ames one time mentioned that too in one of the city council meetings, that we really need to work on our website, work on our outreach, because a lot of times I only find out about meetings through Facebook. I mean, all of a sudden, like Julie Flowers will send a notice out saying there's a meeting tonight. That's how I find out about it, and we really need to work on that. Specifically in terms of development, Rich, as you know, the waterfront is, call it a work in progress to be generous. What do you see happening down on the waterfront? Oh, well, I think it's a good thing we're going to have the restaurant over by the McDonald's. We're going to redo the pier. I think that what we need to do is we need to find a way, in other words, I guess we were talking about at the meeting the other day about the project in Bass River down the waterfront by Bridge Street. And one of the things that we're talking about is there's a path right now that goes across from behind McDonald's, goes over and goes across by Ayers School. And I guess they use some of the community grant to redo the path across by Ayers School. I'd like to see more of that. I mean, but I think also
public access.
Public access. In other words, I'm a runner. I run all over the city. Oh. And I've run 4 Boston marathons, so I know the city very well from a running viewpoint. We have to make it safe for walking, make it safe for running. And I think we've done a good job of that downtown, but we might need to do more of it outlying woods. I mean, there's a very tough balance, because there's already people that have paid money. I understood $5 million is paid for the Bolomat site. So we have to, in other words, we have to somehow find a way to balance the needs of, in other words, I want to have more waterfront access, but we also have to find needs to balance the housing and the business community as well.
Rich, we would be remiss today if we didn't talk about the recent incident of overt racism at the school committee meeting last month. Do you think, as a lifelong resident of Beverly, do you believe that systemic racism is present in the city? And as a counselor, a potential counselor, what can the council do about that?
I think the city Mayor Cahill took a good leadership role by having a meeting at City Hall, and I think that we can't tolerate that sort of behavior in the city of Beverly. I think Beverly people are good people, good solid people, and I don't believe we have some systematic racism. It's more of a national problem, but I think that we have to endeavor every day to put ourselves in the shoes of another person, whatever race they are, whatever sexual orientation they are, and try to understand things from their point of view by doing empathy and stuff. I'm very proud what happened with the city of Beverly after that happened. We came together.
The reaction to it.
Yes.
You mentioned communication and getting information out. My question was, how effective is city government at communicating with residents? But I should ask you, what steps do you think the city can take to improve communication?
I'd like to see more like maybe more like robocalls, that sort of thing. Like letting people know when it's going to be meetings. Maybe send a postcard out, send something out before the election. Like it might have helped if we had something go out before the preliminary election. We might have had higher voter turnout if there was more notice. I understand also that we had a different date in the city of Salem and a lot of surrounding communities for a preliminary election. So I think that would help. And I think that we just need to, in other words, we have to get into the 21st century in Beverly. I mean, in other words, we have to make an aggressive effort to reach the citizens of the city. Because I think I hear a lot of people feel like they're not being heard. And I think that we have to make the effort to make sure they are heard, make sure they know what's going on in the city of Beverly.
We talked about the waterfront. We're a coastal community, Rich, and climate change may affect us greatly in the long run or even in the near term. What do you think the city should be doing to address that?
I think the city, Mayor Hale's doing a great job. I went to a Green Beverly event last weekend. I think it was 2 weeks ago, maybe at Memorial Middle School. I happen to drive a hybrid car. Sorry to give myself a plug, but I think that climate change is real. It's obvious. I mean, we can see what's happening across the country and seeing what's happening with our own climate. That's with storms we've had and the amount of rain we've had this year.
Yeah.
So I think we have to be very aggressive, and we have to do anything we can to deal with that. But we have to do it within the realms of the city finances. Like the city, Beverly is actually a very well-run financially city, but we need to balance things. In other words, everything in life has to be balanced. It's almost like the Lion King, the circle of life. I mean, we have to balance the environment, balance business interests. We have to make changes, and we have to make sure that I think Beverly is well positioned to go into that. But whenever we do development in Bass River, we have to make sure they're high enough above the low tide areas. That's a flooding area.
Right.
I think that was brought up. And I think we need to prepare people, especially people who live in the waterfront. I have a brook in my backyard. And I was involved in the North Beverly Brook project years ago. I did a PowerPoint presentation in front of the city. And I was very shy back then, so it was quite a
You
thing.
got over that.
If I get over that. But what they did is they built a culvert in like my area. But I understand we had the last rainstorm that down by the high school, like some of the neighborhoods by the high school flooded, and we have to address that.
Yeah.
We have to do whatever possible to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Well, in that area, Rich, Beverly's completed many capital projects, from the schools and just recently the new police station. What do you think the next major, and the city does have a capital improvement plan that the mayor puts together every year that goes out 5 years, even 10 years. What do you think the next major capital project should be?
Well, I'm not saying to find capital project, but I believe that we really need to work on our infrastructure, working on water and sewer lines, and working on our streets. I know, like my street, one of the reasons we're waiting to be paved is because we have to get the water lines dug up, the sewer lines dug up. And I think that we're an older city, and we need to work on infrastructure improvements. So I think that if we could do that, I think that would be the main focus: the roads and the sidewalks and the streets, and looking to make Beverly a livable city, which it really is. I mean, I think Beverly's right on the edge of the suburbs. I mean, really, the Salem, that's Beverly. I mean, then we get into the country. We're sort of a mixture community.
Yeah.
We're urban, yet we're suburban, yet we have some country areas. We have Moraine Farm and things like that. And I think we have to find a way to balance that. And it's a very tricky balancing act. But I think that, if I had to make a decision based on, if everybody said, well, what's he going to take, environmental, that, I don't think that would come to that choice. But if it did, I'd err on the side of caution. I'd err on the side of environmental, because I really believe in environment. Because I have asthma, and I have a breathing issue, and I understand how important it is to have clean air, clean water, and we don't want to have too many cars. I think one of the things the city's doing is very good right now is we're building our sidewalks, making our sidewalks wider. I think we're trying to encourage people to walk more and not take the cars as much. And eventually, what I see in the future, some people aren't going to like the future, but I think we're going to see more hybrid, we're going to see more electric vehicles. And I think we have to concentrate on finding a way to make them affordable. We can't do it ourselves, obviously, the city of Beverly, but we have to work to maybe give incentives.
The city's doing that with some of the city vehicles, electric school bus, and more to come.
Yeah, I went for a ride in that city school bus.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Beverly, as you know, is going to celebrate 400 years since its settlement, along with Salem, back in 1626, and that'll be coming up 5 years from now. What do you think the city should be doing to prepare for that?
I think we should do a big parade. I think what we should do is maybe we should give more support. I'm a member of Historic Beverly too, and I think we should put some more money. I mean, if we can just help them get some grants, maybe some of the community grants, and work in like fixing up the Hale House, the Cabot House, and maybe people forget that about the Hannah in general, because I was involved. I went to high school. I graduated in 1977, so I was actually when they dedicated the cannons in Independence Park. I was there.
Oh yeah,
my first girlfriend. Not my present wife, and I remember that. So I think that we should have a real nice celebration. I mean, we should be proud of it. I'm actually related to some of the original founders of Beverly.
Oh my!
So I go way back. So I have a personal interest in that.
The old planters.
Yeah, I'm involved. I have Dodge and Woodbury.
Oh my!
Yeah.
Councilor at large and ward councilor. You're running for councilor at large. How do you see those two roles being similar and being different? I
think they're similar because, the constituent services, one of the advantages I have, I think, this is probably part of my ending statement I'll bring it up now since you brought it up. I'm retired, so I have more time for constituent services, but I think the city council at large is more policy, but also should be helping out people, concentrating constituent services. I think the ward councils, they really need to concentrate on constituent services, but they also have to be involved in policy, so it's sort of a mixture. But I think the people at the city council at large have to provide leadership to the ward councilors and work together with the community leaders, and like Ward 2, Civic Association, Ward 3, all the different areas, Belly Farms, all the different areas of the city, and find out what the specific needs are for those particular areas of the city and work the best we can together to address those issues and address those problems. And also, we just shouldn't just be addressing problems, it should be strengthening our strengths and addressing our weaknesses.
I always said that my experience was that the ward councilors represent a specific area, as you said, neighborhoods and constituents, and know exactly what the issues are, and the councilors at large represent everybody, but they don't really represent anybody directly. It's, because you have the whole city. So there is a basic difference there, but everybody gets one vote on the same issues.
Right.
Also, the council, as you know, elects the city clerk to run that operation and also be the clerk of the city council. And you have the budget management analyst, currently Jerry Perry, to advise the council on financial matters. That's a unique position, the budget management analyst, to Beverly, when the charter was changed in the mid-90s, to give the council an independent voice that had access to all city records, all city departments, total access to everything, but didn't work for the mayor, unlike almost everybody else in the city who either works for the mayor or the superintendent of schools, directly or indirectly. Those two people, the city clerk and the budget management analyst, really work for the council. So how do you see those two roles supporting the council, and how would you see them being useful to you as a councilor at large? Well,
I just went to the city council meetings. I've attended many of them this last year, and I think the person who's in that position is an excellent person. I think he's done a good job. That's one of the reasons I mentioned hiring another person in the accounting office, because I said, do you think it'd be beneficial to the city to add one person to the city accounting office? And he said yes. And I agree with that, because I'm a financial person. I was controller for a small employee-owned company, a manufacturing company in Everett. And also I was a cost accounting manager. So I believe that the more information we have, the better it is for the city. And that's one of the reasons we need to upgrade our city websites and upgrade our city records and upgrade the information flows in City Hall and for the residents of the city. But I do believe that we have a good person in the position. I believe it is a proper role. I think we do need somebody who's independent. We don't want that to become a political position. And I think that he's doing a great job. He's doing as best he can in difficult circumstances. The city's handled COVID very well, I think, considering what's gone through. And the city's in a strong financial position. So I think that's to be kudos to the people, especially to Paul and Tim, who are retiring, and the city council and the mayor. I think they've done a pretty good job considering what we've gone through recently.
And that new person you mentioned a couple of times in the accounting office, if I understood what you said earlier and just now, that person's major responsibility would be to present the city budget or city financials to the public through the website or through other media to make it more understandable to the average person
Exactly.
that's not a financial person as you are or the budget people are.
Yeah, I think what we need too is we need more detail, because I've looked at the city budget and a lot of things are in general headings. We need to get more nitty gritty. We need more details. I think that's one of the major roles I do also, is get into the nitty gritty, because I'm kind of a line by line budget guy. And when I look at the budget, I don't want to see one category and just say this is it. I mean, in other words, I'd like to see what the detail is. I mean, we'd have to see how much detail a person can do, but we definitely need more than we're getting now.
Well, and all of that information is presented in that Munis accounting system that the city and many communities use. But if you're not familiar with Munis, it's hard to determine what it really means.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Munis myself, so, so I'll be honest
You
with
will
you.
be.
I will be.
If you're successful, you will be. Well, Rich, I appreciate your time today, and I'd like to give you a couple of minutes to make a closing statement to the constituents or the potential constituents, and why you'd like them to vote for you on November 2nd.
Okay, well, some of the things we've already gone over. I think the reasons I want, and I shouldn't say we want representation in the city council, is because we're like, the city's at a crossroads, at a major crossroads. And what I can do is I have a life experience. I'm turning 63 this month, and I'm older. So I've brought up family in Beverly. I've lived in Beverly. I played sports for Beverly. I've lived here. I mean, I'm not saying that since I live here it's a better thing, but I've lived here my whole life. And I know the city very, very well. And I believe that my main advantage that I have is that I have the time and the knowledge and the education and the background that I can successfully make sure that the city's residents are heard. I will answer your phone calls. I will answer your emails. I mean, we might not always agree, but I will answer you. I will do everything in my power to make the city a better place for all of us. I will work for better schools. I'm always a teacher, so I do recognize the importance of schools. My daughter's done very well with the Beverly Public School education. I grew up in Beverly. I went to the Beverly Public Schools. I went to Brown School, Memorial, which is now Beverly Middle School, and Beverly High School. And I just believe that my experience, my connections within the city, because I know a lot of people in the city. I've worked with, I actually campaigned for Mayor Cahill back when he was running for state rep. So I actually went door to door in his neighborhood. So I know the different areas of the city and different needs in different areas of the city, whether it be Beverly Farms, Ward 2, Ward 1, etc. I mean, so I'm asking for your vote because I think that I have the time, effort, and energy to devote to the city. I'm not looking for getting elected to higher public office. I'm looking to serve the city's residents. I mean, I'm not going to promise I'm never going to run, but my wife would like it if I did. And I just like to thank you for having your time you spent today interviewing the candidates. And I wish whoever gets elected, I wish them the best. And I'm a very competitive person. I'm going to compete as hard as I can to get your vote. And if you want to contact me, I'm very easy to look up. There's only one Tabbut family in the city of Beverly. And go Beverly.
Thank you, Rich. This has been Conversations with the Candidates, and thank you for watching. There'll be information coming up on the screen on voter registration, the deadline to register if you're not already registered in the November election. If you have any questions, the city clerk, city hall number, and the Secretary of State's Elections Division number will be up on the screen. Thank you for watching, and please vote on November 2nd.